So for those of you that are new, this is our wheel. And the questions on here come from you, the community. The community here, the community online. Anybody that sends a question, eventually it finds its way to the wheel. And we spin this, and then we find out how we're going to contextualize today's talk. How do I open my heart when circumstances are so heart-wrenching, heartbreaking? So how do I open my heart when circumstances are so heartbreaking? So we're wrapping up our year-long First Thing First, and today we're finishing up the 11th tradition. We're looking at a metaphysical understanding and an approach to the 12 steps and 12 traditions of recovery. And the 11th tradition is that we need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. Now I'm about to mix up the 11th and 7th tradition. I don't know why my brain wants to do that, but it does. And so today we're looking at the second half of that. The first half is that our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. The second half is what we're looking at today. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. Why anonymity? Interestingly enough, Ernest Holmes says the same thing, he just uses different words. He says this: religious science is a science of spirit, a culmination of the age-long search for truth. Those responsible for this movement lay no claim to any special dispensation of providence or a special revelation of truth. Religious science contains the best of all ages and presents this thought in a manner that can be understood by all. Presenting these necessarily brief and incomplete statements, the writer does not claim to have discovered any new truth. Nobody owns science of mind. Even Ernest Holmes, who brought it forth, laid no claim to it. In fact, he was very clear. This is what it actually is. There's another one of my favorite Ernest Holmes quotes that came in one of his unpublished writings shortly before his death, is that at some point everything I have written will find its way to the trash where it belongs. And what he was acknowledging was that we will know more, and the finite thing that he brought forth will be so expanded that his contribution will just be a sentence in a much bigger conversation. That's the beauty of anonymity. It prevents us from deifying anybody. Ernest Holmes intentionally hid his burial location because he did not want people finding where he was buried and doing sojourns to his gravesite as if he were some deity. Anonymity. And it begs the question, why do we need to be recognized? What's that about? If there's only one consciousness and we're all using it, why do I need special recognition for how I use it? Why do you need special recognition for how you use it? Why do we have special carve-outs of condemnation for people who use it differently than we like? Because anonymity goes all full circle. You can't point fingers at anyone if we live in anonymity. See, we don't think of anonymity that way. We tend to think of anonymity as people won't know it was me. We tend to think of anonymity from a self-centered point of deprivation, that somehow we're going to miss some recognition if we're anonymous. Right? And then we have to deal with what we feel about that. And most of us, if we're being honest, the need for recognition comes from a belief that we're unrecognized. It comes from a place of hurt. And we're trying to fill a gap because we don't know who we are. And so we've externalized our value and our valuation. And depending on how many people recognize me, I know how good I am. I know how worthy I am. I know how important I am. Not true. Ain't a word of truth in it. What you know is how many people see you and are willing to say something. And you don't know what motivates them to say something. They might be motivated to use you like a paper cup. And so they blow smoke to get your attention, to set you up to use you for their agenda. Do you feel celebrated now? Right? We've all been there where somebody really was making us feel important, making us feel seen, making us feel celebrated. And then all of a sudden they used us and they're done. Ouch. And if we're being honest, we've done that to somebody else. Because that's the law of attraction. That's the law of reciprocity. Right? I love this question. How do I open my heart when circumstances are so heartbreaking? First of all, I think it's important that we recognize that you can't close your heart. You can close your mind to an awareness of your heart. But you can't close your heart. Because if we could close our heart, we would never ask the question. Because your heart would be closed and you wouldn't care. You can't close your heart. That's where the questions of pain come from. They come from the pain that we're experiencing in our heart that our mind doesn't know what to do with. And we tell ourselves, I'm just going to close my heart. But what we're really doing is intentionally turning off our thoughts, turning off our awareness from what our heart is communicating to us. But you can't turn off your heart. If you did, literally, if you turned off your heart, you would die. You would die. No circulation. If we think of the heart in terms of the circulation of creation, the law of reciprocity, everything goes through there. Everything. So this law of attraction, I find it to be an enormous misnomer. Because we think about it like, if I think this, it will attract that. And we tend to turn the law of attraction into a vending machine. That's not what it is. It's not about getting things. It's about being something. It is about being so clear in who you are that that is all that you experience. Doesn't matter how somebody behaves. When we know who we are as a divine idea in the mind of creation, we instantly know that same thing about everybody. It is only when we are living in some level of duality that we find the convenience of knowing about me without knowing about you. That's duality. You can't possibly have that thought if you are anchored in the wholeness of one. Because what is true about one must be true about every expression of that one. Now, we don't like hearing that because if we're telling the truth, we're really attached to our opinions. We're really attached to our positions. And if there's only one, might there only be one position in that one? We're talking about a something that has no circumference. So if it has no circumference, its very center is everywhere. So there's only one position, a center of being. Are you in it mentally, or are you lying to yourself so you're unaware that that's where you live? Are you lying to yourself so that other people don't get to live there with you? Because somehow they're something else other than an expression of divinity. Reverend Dr. David Bruner asks questions on Facebook every day. And one of the questions was, what would change everything if you knew it? And what came to me was to remember that nobody, absolutely nobody, is their behavior. None of us is our behavior. Our behavior is an outpicturing in this conditioned realm based on what we believe, based on our experience, based on what we're telling ourselves, based on how open or closed our mind is to our heart, which is the center of our being. None of us is our behavior. Behavior is what we do. A divine idea in the mind of creation. You are a fulfilled desire of creation to know and experience itself uniquely individualized as you. That's who you are. That's your value. You are creation expressing in form. I cannot fathom what would be more valuable. I can't. There's one thing and you're it. Look around. So is everybody else. Right? If you went through your day and everything your eyes landed on, and this comes out of the Course in Miracles expanded, but I invite you to go through a day and everything you hear, that's God. Everything you see, that's God. Everything you feel, that's God. Everything you think, that's God talking to you. I dare you. Just try it one day. The worst thing that happens is that you have the most peaceful day you've ever had in your entire life. Because you will go through a whole day seeing only God, experiencing only God, and there is no divisiveness in God. So if you're up for a peaceful day, give it a shot. And if that somehow offends your sensibilities, well, stay in your misery. I certainly don't want to take that away from you. Right? I mean, I come from the land of give it a try, and if it doesn't work, we'll gladly refund your misery. Because we are at choice. Even what created us doesn't have an opinion about how much of it we experience. It gives all of it to us. And then it's up to us. How much of it can you stand? How much of it will you choose? And it really is a choice. There is no condition bigger than God. There is no pain bigger than God. There is no lack bigger than God. Scientifically, the law of attraction is a thing. A vibration will attract that vibration. That's just physics. So if you want to attract something different, change your vibration. How do you change your vibration? Stop telling this lie. Stop even pretending that you can close your heart, and maybe try sitting in silence and ask your heart what it wants to tell you that you don't want to hear. Because that will inform your beliefs that get to change. Right? On page 252 of Living the Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes talks about we don't claim that things are all good when they're all wrong. He says that straight out. Right? So it's all good as a spiritual bypass. The founder didn't even say that. He contradicted that. We do not say a thing is all good when it is all wrong. We do not say people are not poor and hungry and suffering when they are. But instead, what we do is explore why these things are happening when the truth of being is wholeness. Because that's where our work is. Spiritual mind treatment is not just for you. Spiritual mind treatment is to heal errant thinking in mind. There's only one mind. And so if you find yourself defaulting to, well, I didn't think that, you are practicing duality. Come home to one. Every thought belongs to all of us. Everyone. And the beauty of that is that we then have the power to change. But the minute we dismiss ourselves, we throw away our birthright to be a part of the solution. You don't have to take on responsibility from the point of view of blame. And that's where we go sideways. I am responsible does not mean it's my fault. It means I'm responsible. It means within me is the spiritual ability to respond to this. It's not about fault. You can't have a creation where free will is our birthright and have blame. You can't. Doesn't wash. That's a human conditioning thing that separates us from our divinity. Allow yourself to be aware. Allow yourself to own. And allow yourself to heal what you become aware of. And then move on to the next thing. Because the ultimate, and I'm going to close with this, you can't wait until you see it to believe it, or you ain't never going to see it. Right? We have to believe it. Faith is the belief in things not seen. I don't have to see Noah on the stage getting his Grammy because I already saw it. I already saw it. I don't have a timeline for it, but I know it's going to happen because out of nowhere, there it was. So my joy is to just keep seeing it, to keep believing it until there he is. And then at whatever old age I am, I get to say, hey, I know that kid. We were laughing this morning about being tired. He's tired. I'm 66. We just changed labels. Just see it, believe it, and refuse to be moved off of what you know. No matter what condition happens, see it and refuse to be moved. Let's take this into prayer. I know that there's only one thing that isn't even a thing. It's the unformed substance of all things. It is the invisible made visible, the unseen made seen, the known made known. And I am that in form. And what is true of me is true of all life, in every form, everywhere. And so I simply speak my word, claiming and affirming the awakening, especially of humanity, to the magnificence of its being, of its source, of its birthright, and the power that lies within every expression of creation, to be a part of the solution, to come home to the truth of one, no matter what, to see with absolute clarity the truth of being, and to refuse to be moved. And so I simply claim, knowing that law has already acted upon it, that it is done. There's nothing to do but completely, blindly let go. Because I know at the center of my being that it is done. And I invite you to know this with me as we say together, and so it is. Let's take a breath.